primitive fishes that have most of the characteristics evolved now, and they persist. All those chordate characteristics, they persist in these animals, but they are still not as complex as the higher fishes or the higher mammals. So these superclass Agnatha are the jawless fish-like animals, we can generally say. The main characteristics includes the absence of the jaw. They do not have any jaw in their mouth, and they have do not have any paired fins, right? So they are like eel-like animals or snake-like animals. So this is the eel-like body, eel-like bodies, right? And but they have a notochord that persists throughout their body, whether regardless of their life stage, whether they are larvae or the adults, but they will have a notochord in their body, and they have a tail, they have pharyngeal slits or the pharynx and endostrial. All those five characteristics, they are persistent now. Here onward from subclass vertebrata, you will see all those characteristics. They exist and persist in the animal body. Right. So these eel-like animals, they have 7 or more pair of the gill pouches or gill slits. Their skin is smooth. There is no scales present. Sensory organs are simple, and they have a pineal eye or the primitive pineal eye that is only sensitive to the light intensity. It does not produces images, right? And this digestive system has developed, but not as much as the higher vertebrates, and they have still unidentifiable. Uh, Sorry, they have an identifiable stomach. So we see that simple digestive system is getting more developed and uh, identifiable different organs, right? So they have a stomach, right? So fertilization in these animals is external, and then development of the immature is in the form of the larvae that looks like the primitive cephalochordates or amphioxus, right? And there is no parental care. The animal is ectothermic and have a cartilaginous skeleton, right? Cartilaginous plus you can add another point, fibrous. Okay, so they have cartilaginous and fibrous skeleton, and their heart is simple two-chambered heart. One chamber receives blood, and then other chamber pushes it out. So that was the general characteristics of all these three different type of the animals that comes in class Agnatha. So let's start with this classification. Ostracodermata is the first class of superclass Agnatha, and they are generally known as heavily armored fish. And this is we call them because they have a shield-like armor or shield-like protection on their head and thoracic region. Here you see in this figure, this is the fossil, real fossil of these animals. You can see that animal's body is cylinder, but from the interior end they have a large shield or the bone-like plate on their head that is for protection. Here you see, so these animals, their body is soft, but they for the protection they have a head-like skull, or you can see it's an external skull or the plate that covering the head from the top side. So these animals are evolutionary dead ends, means that they does not evolve into anything else, and they finished at their time, and they only exist in the fossils at the moment. They are generally called as ostracoderms. Derms means skin. Ostraco means bony thing. So they have the bony skin on their head. Uh, right. The other characteristics includes they does not have any jaw. That is why they are in Agnatha. Their mouth parts are sucking in nature, so they are filter feeders, right? Flattened head, single nostril. Gills are not used for feeding, but for exclusively for respiratory functions. They are bottom dwellers, so they do not swim higher because their body were very lean, but they have a heavy bone on their head, so they normally crawl on the seabeds. The dermal bone on their head has a tooth-like appearance or tooth-like structures that we know is the dentine. So here we can assume that these animals were evolved so early, and at the same time the bone was evolved in the vertebrates. That was the general introduction of the ostracoderms.